Hi, and welcome back to another edition of the Sunday Vibes at NSD podcast. And as usual, it's me, and it's
Me.
Elena Koshi. But she's looking a little panic-stricken today, a little bit, because you know what? I'm just going to sit back and look pretty while she takes the lead on today's topic. So, what is it about, El?
Intan is just basking in post-festivities glow. She has that about her. But yeah, Hari Raya has come and gone. Prior to that, it was Chinese New Year. Before that, it was Christmas. It's like one festivity after the other.
It's never ending. That's the best thing about being in Malaysia,
And
don't you think?
You know something? I'm still recovering from Christmas.
Oh, that was last
Believe
year.
it or not.
That
I'm
was
still
last year.
recovering from it.
Okay.
But sometimes, do you feel that you need a holiday after a holiday?
Which holiday?
That's exactly my point, because we have so many of them.
Well, I'm not going to complain because I think it's wonderful that we are a country that celebrates everything. We're happy people because we're always being very festive.
I know we are festive, but along with the festivities come a lot of spending, a lot of preparations.
Yes.
Right now the bags are unpacked, festive leftovers are gone, reality has come knocking. Work is back again, and so now the magic fades a little bit.
The magic
the Raya
fades.
magic has faded a little bit, or still you're still in that.
Well, you know what? Raya is a whole month. We fasted a whole month, so why not just keep on Raya-ing?
Okay lah. So you are Raya-ing. I'm
Yes.
still reeling from Christmas.
You're still reeling from Christmas. You know what? Talking about Christmas, I remember for this year's Raya, I decided that because I put in so much effort to decorate my house for the Christmas period. I had the I had the glistening Christmas tree. The mini Christmas tree.
Right.
I was short of having a wreath. I didn't have a wreath, but I had the tinsels. I had
Nice.
stars. So I said to myself, well, if I give so much effort, make so much effort for Christmas, then I should also extend the same effort to Raya. So what I
Okay.
did was I recycled some of the tinsels that I used for Christmas. It's a good thing I bought green. So
Okay,
why not? Why
so
not?
it's the Raya colours. It's the
Colour
Raya colours.
colours
Okay.
are there, but the Father Christmas and everything was put away. The nice Christmas tree-ish could just pass for beautiful nature, because that's what I told my dad, because he said, why are we having a Christmas tree for Raya?
Oh, pine trees for
Pine
that
trees.
matter.
So all I said was, do not look at it as a Christmas tree. Look at it as a pine tree. And it happens to have all these snowflakes on it. So it's just a nice pine tree and some, snowy landscape. And it's just a decoration. So I had
No,
that.
I think it's snowing in Europe, right? Still winterish or moving into spring, I think. So you might have a little snow. So if you were celebrating Raya over there, maybe
Right.
that scene would be
Quite appropriate.
Quite appropriate.
Yeah, it was quite stressful actually before Raya, because the idea was to make it as good as I did for Christmas, because I enjoy the whole Christmas shebang, right? So I said I'm gonna try and make as much effort. But the only thing that I have stopped doing is buying kueh raya. Biscuit raya, because I think they're a waste of money, really. Do you know how much they cost in the shops?
No, but actually, what's the most you've ever spent on kueh raya, cookies and all that?
Well, it depends, because I normally will make a pilgrimage to somewhere in Kuang, Selangor, or somewhere in Sungai Buloh, because they have these warehouses, or they have these shops that sell in bulks. Like for this year, my parents were back from England, so they decided that they wanted to go to Sepang, to a place called Bang Huris. It's an agro-tech place that does all the keripik, tempeh and whatever. So wholesale. So they dragged me there, and I had to buy everything from there. So that was our stock. But I stopped short at kueh raya because I knew I would be getting some from a lot of friends and clients. And sure enough, I had drawer full of kueh raya. I didn't even need to buy.
So you had more than enough. But okay, do you feel that every Raya that comes and goes? Because I know that when I scroll down my Facebook, especially during the Raya period, and you have all these big family photos with matchy outfits and things like that, right? So do you feel you need to match that vibe? Like
You mean
new
with
outfits?
with the outfits?
Yeah.
Not really, although my dad gets really pissed because he likes for the family to look like, whole Boria kind of ensemble.
Yeah.
I think because he grew up, in those days when families would be so united and come out in a specific color. So even before Raya, they would decide what color shall we wear this year, right? So I know for a fact my uncles and my aunties are big on that. And my dad has always harbored this dream that, his children would follow suit as well, but we all have our own ideas. We don't do that. So every time we do a Raya photo session, nobody matches, much to my dad's annoyance. But my mom and dad would match, yeah.
But I think back when I was younger, I think for Christmas and all that, my mother used to make us all wear matchy clothes.
Do they do that for Christmas as well? Families do that.
Back in the day, we used to literally, and pictures of us, right? Like from the eldest to the youngest, right? It's like a photo lineup,
So everybody would be matching?
Shot. Yeah. And it looked like as though my mother bought the material, like a curtain material, and decided to
Everybody
sew.
would.
Yeah. And every one of us used to have the same type of, I think, depending on who you are, like you're the eldest, maybe the dress will be a little bit different, but the material was the same.
Right.
So it was this green flowery material, really looked like a curtain. But
Did she get it from the curtain?
I have no idea.
must
I think
ask
she
her.
would deny it, but yeah, we used to have that. And over the years, I think different curtains were used.
All in the name of Christmas dressing.
Yeah, so all of us had matchy clothes growing up. I think we didn't have a choice, but I think right now, do you have the need to buy new clothes for Raya and things like that?
That's a good one actually, because every year the question is asked, so have you set the budget for new baju?
Right.
And I'm of the opinion that Raya should not be a time or should be an excuse to splurge unnecessarily, because it's bad enough to buy kueh Raya. If you want to conform, then you should have at least 6 balang, 6 jars of kueh Raya minimum. That's from my family side, right? So can you imagine if one type of kueh is like 48 ringgit or 50, as they have become these days, right? You can buy the cheaper options, something like 28 ringgit, but you're eating margarine and it's not good stuff, and most of the time it ends up being in the jar and left untouched for months. So don't bother going there. So if you imagine 6 jars of kueh Raya, and then also how many change of clothing, how many change of Raya outfits are you going to have? Because, for example, my dad has 10 siblings. So we have many houses to go to. So if you plan it right, you can say, okay, I'm going to allocate maybe 3 baju Raya this year, so that I can, maybe on the first day I'll go to about 5 houses, so I can wear the same. So the next day I cannot possibly wear the same one, so I'll wear whatever. So it gets a bit stressful.
It's like strategy, isn't it? So you have to...
Yeah, festive period means strategizing.
But I mean, you don't literally have to buy a new baju. You just wear something that they haven't seen before. What's the whole purpose of wearing a new
because
baju?
we as a family were big on taking photographs everywhere. And and we always have this idea that someone's going to go and refer back to the year before, and they're going to say, didn't you wear that before? But you know what? As I got older, I realized that's the least of my concern. I don't really care. So I find that I budget a lot on my baju Raya as I get older, because I don't feel it necessary to buy, blings. In fact, let me share with you, I was in Sungai Buloh and Shah Alam, and I realized that the design of the baju has now become the sort where they would put, all the blings and the sequins and stuff. So the price of the baju will rise. So it's higher. It's actually, if you strip away the sequins and the blings, it's actually just a simple baju kurung. And ordinarily, it probably would cost you maybe, 160. But once they put the blings on, then it becomes like 350. Up to 600 even, if you go to Bangsa. So I'm totally against that.
But okay, speaking of budget, so I've got some statistics for you.
All right. Okay.
So this International Journal of Humanities and Social Studies.
Ooh, that sounds heavy.
Sounds very heavy.
Sounds
very, anyway, so they said 55.2% of our respondents, they had, I think about 1,000 respondents or so. So 55.2 spend double the usual for their household expenditure for Raya.
Really? Is this like Malaysians?
Malaysians. We're talking about Malaysians. And 21.4% agreed that they spend double that.
Why?
So double the double.
Why?
So I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't think it's specific to Raya, but I also think that it goes for most people who are celebrating, especially those with who intend to celebrate it lah, like
Does
have
it
open
happen for
houses.
Christmas as well?
Sorry.
Does it happen for Christmas as well? Because you
Oh,
celebrate
Christmas. Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah, yeah. Christmas, depending lah.
Yeah. Because I
Thank
know.
God. Thank God it's just me and my mum.
Right.
So we can decide. But my mother is a social butterfly. She wants her friends to come over and all that.
Right. Yeah. Because the older generation, they like to host.
Yeah.
It's a thing,
Yeah.
right? So you must put up appearances. Everything must be perfect.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's not just that, because you need to, of course, think about food, think about
Hey, do
presents.
it Raya. Do it Raya.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, now do it, right? So, how do you decide the amount?
How do
Do
I
you
decide?
give do it, Raya?
I used to do it so actively when I was younger. I loved giving out Duit Raya, and most of the time inside there's probably minimum 10 ringgit, minimum.
Minimum. Wow. Okay.
Regardless. But these days, I think in the last 2, 3 years, I've become such a Grinch. I decide whether I want to give or not. And when all these little hands come in front of me and like, Auntie, I'll be like, have you eaten?
No,
That's
but
about it.
how do you determine like who you give and who you don't give? So what is the criteria?
Okay.
Maybe the little ones should be listening to this.
Okay, for me personally, these days and of late, I allocate certain amount for my older uncles, the ones that I feel
Okay.
really need it because they don't work. And I do splurge on Duit Raya, a higher rate for my older uncles, even though they can probably afford it. But, that's besides the point. So the younger ones, I feel, oh, you can work for it. But yes, so the bulk of my money is it's allocated for my uncles or aunties who are elderly, and I feel that they may welcome it. So that's what I do. The younger ones, I don't give so much. Like back in the days, I used to. But if I do give, it's probably because I feel they might need it for their college, or they might need it for education, or they might welcome it as an extra, source of money. That's it. But I do not give out hundreds of packets of Duit Raya anymore, which I used to do, which I used to do. And I thought that was a prerequisite for Raya.
But do you think our idea of celebrating or celebration has become commercial? Because I know Christmas, for me, I find Christmas has been overtly commercial.
Okay.
The pressure of, I think it's also the shopping malls and all that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice that they get you into the mood of
Yeah.
Christmas with all the carols and all that. But along with Christmas comes that obligatory, like, oh God, you need to spend. You need to buy
Yeah, the
Christmas presents. The
expectations, no?
expectations are there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find Christmas very, very commercial, but I don't know how you feel about Raya.
Well, you know what? Instead of feeling festive and all, I find that because of all these expectations, that it becomes very stressful. So when I think of Raya, I equate it with stress because there's so many things that you have to put into place, including, budget-wise, you have to allocate a budget. I mean, it's a given. The features of Raya, it's already there. It's set. It's set. So you have your Kueh Raya, you have your Duit Raya, you have your open houses, you have your spread for the day when people come. So all that, it's big money. And in this day and age, we're kind of tight. So I have to be a bit more smarter with how I do things and what I allocate. How I allocate my funds. But
I think as time goes by, I mean, back in the day, we used to have really big open houses.
yeah, but back in the kampong, because I remember when my grandparents were still alive, you could still have a really, really good raya, very festive, very merry. But I don't think they spent half as much as we do today. There's no pressure, to do things a certain way. Like everybody would converge to my grandparents' house. Everybody would bring some food. They'd be cooking the night before at the back. It's like the gotong royong kind of spirit. And I don't think they ever worried about budget because, I don't know how they did it then, And everybody got duit raya because I remember, sampo surat, but probably about what, 1 ringgit or 2 ringgit. That was big money back then. But everybody had fun and nobody spoke about the stresses of the festive period. And even, when they talk about the festive crawl and how stressful it is, balik kampung, I don't think people lamented that, back in those days. Everybody looked forward to it. Nobody talked about the jam.
But was
So,
it that bad though back in the days? Because I don't think it's as bad as now. I think the increase of, it sounds so sad when I talk about it. Like more cars, more
hey,
jam.
but
Like
it's true.
seriously,
But it's true. I remember balik kampung, it
I
was so
know it used to
fun.
be fun, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
but
now it's like when my dad says, "Oh, can we go back to Sepang this year?" I'm like, "Oh, Dad, there's gonna be a crawl. Everybody's gonna be out there. By the time we arrive, I'm probably gonna wanna kill you or something
yeah,
like that. And then you get there and you're like so harassed, and it just doesn't smack of a good time somehow. I
I
don't know.
I think when we were younger, it was more of an adventure, balik kampung.
Yeah,
It
but
was
I
like.
don't recall jams though. I don't recall jams. I don't know. Maybe less cars on the road, like you said.
I think less. I think now more people own vehicles. So a
Yeah.
bit tragic lah.
Yeah, but for Christmas though, you don't do this balik kampung thing, do you?
We don't do the balik kampung thing, but I used to remember when Christmas presents, we didn't dictate what, these
Oh.
days, right? These days you're like, oh, what's your wish list? And we
You get a wish list?
yeah. I tell
Oh.
you, as my nieces get older,
Uh-huh.
they don't take any no Christmas present that's like a surprise. Not anymore.
So you have to give a list to tell you.
So it's like they have a wish list, like what are the things they like and want, and you choose from there. But back in the days when I was small, it was so magical because you really don't know what you'd get, and the
Right.
surprise factor was there, right?
Right.
It didn't matter that it was a small gift or a big gift, but the fact that it was was just something you looked forward to, not knowing what you got. And, it can be a small bottle of lip gloss or coloring book or something, right? But these days, it's not, I find it more planned. I don't know, for the want of a better word. It's like, you know what, my nieces come to me and say, no, Mama, this is my list, this is what I like. Or you could give me cash.
Oh my God. Oh, talking about cash, don't they actually just like flash you their phone and let you scan or
Right.
QR
I
the Do It Raya
know.
or something? Or am I behind?
Yeah, it's something like that, yes. But now it's like, what do you want for Christmas? Like, oh, cash would be great. It's like there's no magic anymore. I mean, like, why can't I just buy you what I want?
Yeah,
Right?
it has become an expensive business trying to be
it's
festive.
become so expensive and, like I said, so commercial. The magic is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I asked my mother, like, Ma, I want this for Christmas, I would have gotten one tight slap.
Yeah.
But these days, kids are like,
Yeah, I can resonate with that because I remember during was it last Raya, we had bunch of kids. In fact, a flurry of kids coming to the house, just ringing the bell and just staying outside, by the grill. And I'm looking at them like, come in, come in, come in, makan, makan. And they just look at me like, duit raya ada? And I'm like, don't you want to come in and eat? No, we're full. And then
What?
yeah, so you're here just for the duit? And I said, well, I'm not giving any duit until you come in and eat something. So they'd rush in, open one jar, one kuih raya, take one and then stand there like a soldier. Like, okay, we're done. That's how bad it's become. And what's even worse, and this is really bad manners, I feel parents should educate their children. You give them the packet and right in front of you,
they will
open it. They throw the sample on the floor. They look at the money. If it's good amount, then they'll say, terima kasih, auntie. If it's not, they're like, and they crawl out.
Do they even compare Do It Raya? Because they will check, right?
They
With
do.
the
They do.
youngers.
And then you wait. You go downstairs and you see a whole cluster of them in the playground, just amongst themselves. And they'd have all their samples all around them and they'd be counting. Each one would be counting. Right. Like, how did they come to that? I blame the parents, actually. I think it's bad manners.
But if you had one tradition, right, that you wish would be preserved forever, lah, like a timeless tradition, if there's such a thing for Raya, if there's a tradition that you wish would continue on, or maybe it's not being followed anymore, can you think of anything?
Well, for me, Raya or any festive period should be about family. And the expectations of having to have, make it so grand and all that. I wish that would go away, because fundamentally it should be about family, because we live such busy lives, and half the time we don't even get to see, our uncles, aunties, our cousins, to reconnect and strengthen the bond. And I feel, if at least you can make an effort, you make an effort during Raya, for example, because that's the one time when everybody's going to be on public holiday, right? There's really no excuse. And you should not feel the pressure of having to make it so grand, because at the end of the day, it's about having everyone together in one space, reflecting on the joys of Raya, the joys of, of family, strengthening the bond. Just eat whatever, like everybody just potluck it or whatever. Just bring everything so we can all share. Sharing the joy of the festive period together as a family. I feel that tradition should remain. And forget about how much duit raya you have to give, how many balangs of kuih raya you need to have. Just have what you have, but fundamentally it's about just bringing the family together. And for me especially, because a lot of my uncles are very old, and sometimes I get a call to say, oh, this one has passed away, and I'd be like, oh no, I didn't even have time to say hi, on the normal days. So for me, Raya, just make it a point to just do this, at least. It's very little to ask for. And the joy you bring to your elderly uncles or aunties when you do come, because generally younger people, maybe they think it's boring, to go and hang out. What are we going to do? We're just going to sit in front of the TV. What's my uncle going to talk to me about? It's boring. I'd rather go and see my friends. And then we'll probably go to a cafe somewhere and take all those IG worthy pictures. You can do that some other time, but not on Raya. I feel you should allocate this time for
But
family.
I also like the fact that you did talk about, the morning when you burst salam salam with your
Oh
parents and
yeah.
all the waterworks come out, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing tradition, and I'm wondering whether that's something that people still do.
Is it something that like Christians do for Christmas, or is it a very Malay
I think
Hari
it's a
Raya
very
thing?
Malay Hari Raya thing.
Ah, okay. I'm wondering, like, for Chinese New Year also, do
I have
they
no
do that?
idea. No
Yeah,
idea.
we should have had someone to represent that.
I
But
know, right?
yes, but
But our producer is nodding her head.
okay,
I think God.
okay, got lah somehow,
God lah.
Okay.
I mean, we do wish and all that, but it's not that intense way that you wish and you ask for forgiveness for
Oh
all
yeah.
your.
Actually, now that you've brought that up, that is a beautiful tradition that should be maintained. I find that the younger ones don't understand the significance.
Correct.
All right.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
definitely when I was growing up and my grandparents were alive, and we would converge to Sepang, and I would see all my uncles lined up, my uncles and aunties. I think they were 10. My grandparents had 10 children, and of course their spouses. So I would, like, as a child, I would stand behind my granddad and watch, as each uncle, got down to do the salaman, and then you see them crying or tearing up, and it would be such an intense emotional time. And I would always like look upon all this in awe and thinking, wow, but I didn't quite understand why they got so teary. But then I would listen, and the kind of things that they would say to my grandparents, and it back then it probably I couldn't understand it, but now when I think about it, really, really intensely asking, seeking forgiveness for everything that they have possibly done, just reflecting on things that have happened. And that moment was very special. And then fast forward to today, I noticed when I watch my cousins or little nephews, try to do this little exercise, it's a very, okay, salam, salam atuk, salam, 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 okay, sorry, kosong, kosong, and then they go
I
off.
know. Yeah.
They have diluted the real meaning of that practice, and I don't know whether parents actually still try to tell their children this is actually a very significant tradition that you need to understand. I think because they don't understand, that's why it becomes one of those, okay, kosong kosong, duit raya. I feel really sad when I see that, because this is the one time, you can get really, I don't know, the feel.
The
feel.
connection is there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do it, you have to take it seriously. Nowadays, the young ones get embarrassed to do it. They see other people watching them doing it, and they'll be like, oh, okay, get it over and done with. But yeah, it shouldn't be like that. You're right, that's the one tradition also that should
Yeah.
be preserved.
Yeah.
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 It's unique.
it's a very unique Malay tradition, I think, and I feel that it's very family centered.
Yes.
And the connection that when you actually go and ask forgiveness and really mean it,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
be so reflective
Yeah.
of your relationship with your parents, especially, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really a very healing and very emotional moment, I think, right? So
Yeah.
how did you feel when you
Oh, I get really teary. I get really teary because I tend to reflect on the things that I haven't had the chance to do for my parents. And so I always like quietly make that resolve that I'm going to make it better this year. Every time I salam, because it's every year, right? I salam and I'm like, I make this thing inside of me. I'm going to make it even better for them this year. I try. So I'll say, forgive me for anything that I may have done to hurt you, or make you feel unappreciated. I will try better. I mean, I'm not as eloquent as my parents when they do their bit, with their parents, but I think they understand what I mean. And they do tear up as well because they then also recollect how the relationship has been, and the fact that they are getting old and you don't know how much longer this little exercise can be done before you have no hands to shake after that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
that's making me a little bit teary right now.
but it's true. It's true. You have to understand, people get older, and if you think, oh, I got time for that, I'll do it another year. You don't
Actually,
know. You don't know whether they'll be there another year.
you're absolutely right. For me, I think it's a bit different. I think it's my mum. It's a tradition for years that every Christmas morning or Easter morning, for that matter, that she'll wake up early and make her traditional stew.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, and and for some reason, only she knows how to make it. And none of us have, even if we tried, we can't come close to the stew that she makes. So on Christmas morning you can smell it because she wakes up really early and makes that. And for me, that has been that tradition that has gone on since I was a child. And I'm just wondering, because she's 83 this year, so
So you better start learning how to make it.
damn it. I
Yes,
don't know how to make it. I
make sure she
tried.
gives you all her secrets.
Yeah, but her secret is very difficult to learn when your mother teaches you how to cook, because
Yeah.
it's like a pinch of this,
Yeah.
agak-agak this.
Yeah.
You just see lah. And I'm like, see what?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that would be a tradition not to
Yeah, so
not
it's
to
it's
lose.
a bit worrying, because she's 83 years old, and as much as I like her to live until she's 100 or more,
Yeah.
or be eternal,
Yeah.
but yeah, it kind of frightens me, because I don't know how long. Because
Yeah.
that's the binding thing that holds the family together. Because even my sisters and my nieces and nephew will all gravitate to mum because of that particular stew that she makes.
Talking about the word binding, I have to say that with the passing of both my grandparents on my dad's side and on my mom's side, the glue is no longer as strong. I
Right.
noticed, and I think it took them to be around to make sure that everybody would come together.
Yes.
And nowadays you don't get that because, for example, back then, first day of Raya, everybody knows to go back to Sepang or to Penang, right? Because the grandparents are there. It's expected. These days, first day of Raya, we'll see. Maybe because the road's going to be jammed, so maybe I'll just go the next day, or maybe I'll go later in the evening. So there's none of that,
I know.
I don't know how to
None of
explain
that
it.
urgency lah.
Yeah. And
But
there's no one to rally them round or just gather them together. There's no point person to head to,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Because for
that's a
me, it's our
shame.
mum.
Right.
So yeah, but it's funny, because we were talking about budget and stress of holidays, and suddenly we came to traditions that we can't let go of.
Yeah, well, those traditions, you don't have to pay for
Oh
them.
my God.
Those are
Yeah,
free.
those are priceless things,
Yeah,
isn't
those are
it?
priceless.
Yeah.
So you don't have to talk about budget or money or not having enough. All you need to give is time. And time is free. right? I don't see how. Yeah. So what's the problem?
I know, but
Right.
yeah. So aside from post-holiday stress, maybe it's time to look back at certain traditions and try our best to keep them
Yes.
going, and
And
as long as we
I
can.
think we'll be less stressed if we just go back to the basics and really practice what those festive periods or what Hari Raya really means.
Yeah, what Christmas or Chinese New Year or
Correct.
Deepavali really
Correct.
means too.
Right. Right.
I mean, the fundamental thing is family and faith.
Yes. Family. All you need to do is just give time.
Yeah.
Just give time. It's priceless. So.
Okay. So on
Okay,
that note,
on that note, I think we've come to the end of this show. Right?
I
Once again,
time flies when we are having fun.
time flies when we're reminiscing and wanting the good old days back. But anyways, thank you, Elena, for such an interesting discussion. We shall do that again soon.
Do what again?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll keep it wraps. But yes, in the meantime, before I forget, let me just remind all you listeners or viewers now out there not to forget to get your copy of Sunday Vibes, which is inside the new Sunday Times, failing which go to NST Online. And also show us your support on our Instagram page, Elena.
That's right. Sunday_vibes or vibes_Sunday.
Okay.
Something like that. Like just go to Instagram, just type Sunday Vibes. You'll find us.
You'll find us there.
You'll find us.
Yes. Until the next time, thank you for joining us. And Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya. Happy holidays.